Hi everyone, I'm Kalilah Reynolds and welcome to another edition of Taking Stock Live. Sorry for the late start. We had a few technical things that we needed to iron out before this show began, and I know that this is a very highly anticipated show for this evening. Did you guys miss me? I don't think you missed me too much because Keisha did an amazing job last week. So big ups to Keisha. I was traveling, but I'm back on the rock now and, ready to give you all this IPO news because it is going to be a jam-packed show this evening. Remember, we're bringing you all the latest business news and telling you how it will affect you and your money. Don't forget to head over to my website, KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter once this live has ended to get my newsletter straight to your inbox twice a week, because that's where you get the IPO alerts and you make sure that you do not miss them. So we have a lot to talk about today. But first, here is what's hot in business and a preview of tonight's show. Now, come on, let's get this money. One On One is the latest company ready to launch an initial public offer IPO. It's seeking to raise $358 million. Shares to the public are priced at $1 each. The offer is set to open Friday, August 12. Founder and CEO of One On One, Ricardo Allen, will join me. And the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. We'll hear their thoughts on One On One's upcoming IPO, and Dolla Financial Services will be raising new capital in the form of a bond to meet rising demand for its loans. But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Spiritual Spices and Massey Distribution have struck a deal to expand the Spice Company's reach in Jamaican stores. Spiritual Spices manufactures all-in-one seasonings and sauces. Its products are available in several countries, including the US, UK, Cayman Islands, and Australia. The deal will see Massey deepening the local availability of Spiritual's products to wholesales, club stores, and mom and pop locations. The partnership also presents an opportunity for Spiritual to expand to other Caribbean territories where Massey already has an established distribution and retail footprint. Spiritual also announced its plans to transition from a spice and sauce provider to a full food manufacturing operation and expand its reach in export markets. JMMB Group has revealed intentions to enter the credit card market across its 3 operating territories. JMMB has locations in Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Dominican Republic. In its annual report posted to the Jamaica Stock Exchange's website, the group revealed the move as part of its strategic growth plan. The group said it is focused on developing new income streams with emphasis on maximizing value from the payments ecosystem. In the 2022-23 financial year, JMMB also said it will be rolling out merchant acquiring products, including point-of-sale and e-commerce solutions, to better serve SME and corporate clients. JetBlue is on its way to becoming the US's 5th largest airline after snatching Spirit Airlines from competitor Frontier. JetBlue and Spirit Airlines announced the acquisition last week with a $3.8 billion price tag. If the deal is approved by U.S. federal regulators, each Spirit shareholder will receive $33.50 US per share, which is 50 cents more than the offer it made in May. JetBlue tried to launch a hostile takeover of Spirit, bypassing the company's board and going directly to Spirit shareholders to ask them to approve the deal. But in February, Spirit announced it had entered into a $2.9 billion deal with Frontier to merge and form the US's 5th largest carrier. Spirit shareholders, however, voted no on the deal, and the agreement was terminated. Spirit is obligated to repay Frontier $25 million in merger-related costs. The U.S. is now in a recession, or is it? The U.S. economy declined for a second consecutive quarter, shrinking 0.9% between April and June, after a 1.6% contraction in the January quarter. 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth is one of the generally accepted indications of a recession. However, U.S. officials have been adamant that the country is not in a recession. Chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, and many economists have said that while the economy is showing some weakening, it's not in a recession. highlighting a robust labor market with 11 million job openings and an uncommonly low 3.6% unemployment rate. They say that a recession, if one does occur, is still a long way off. What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy. Oh, I was muted this whole while. All right, here we go again. What was I saying? Oh, I was bigging up everybody who is joining us early from Jamaica, all over the world. Debbie Cool says New York in the house and can't wait to get this money. Javon says up and ready, let's get this cabbage. So big up yourself, Javon. That cabbage is new. Kish is checking in from London as usual. Hi, Kish. And then we have Natalie in Richmond, Virginia, up and ready, and Conrad as well, checking in from Runaway Bay, as well as those of you all over the world and all over Jamaica. Big up yourself. We're happy to have you. Now, we do have a pretty exciting show for you today. As you saw, we are talking about the One On One IPO. But before I introduce my guests, here's an overview of the offer.
Technology company One On One Educational Service is seeking to raise $358 million through an initial public offer. If the offer is successful, One On One will apply to listed on the junior market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. The company is offering 380 million shares for sale. 121 million shares will be available to the public. The other 258 million are reserved for key partners, teachers and trainers, employees, and the lead broker, Sagicor Investments. Shares to the public and parts of the reserve pool are going for $1 each. The smallest quantity you can buy is 1,000 shares. That means you can participate in this offer for as little as 1,000 Jamaican dollars plus fees. That's less than $7 US. Sagicor Life Jamaica and Panjam Investment, whose shares are a part of the reserved pool, will receive a discounted price of 80 cents per share. The offer is set to open on August 12, 2022 and is scheduled to close on August 19, 2022. But with such a small offer, it could close early. Applications are being accepted through Sagicor Investments Jamaica. Check the link in the description to apply.
All right, so there you have the overview of One On One's IPO, which opens on the 12th of August. What day of the week is the 12th? I think it's sometime next week. So now it is time for the moment of truth, the moment that you've all been waiting for. We're joined by founder and CEO of One On One, Ricardo Allen, and we also have the broker, capital markets manager at Sagicor Investments, Theola Moore Bruce. Welcome, Ricardo. Welcome, Theola.
Welcome, Kalilah.
It is so good to see you. So good to have you both on. And congratulations, Ricardo, on this historic milestone for yourself and for your business.
It's amazing. We're still in it. But obviously, we're still at the business at hand, which is to raise this capital to expand and to continue to expand. But thank you.
I love to see it. Young Jamaicans doing their thing. I feel like we're on a young wave right now because you had Dolla this year, you had Gordon with EduFocal, one of your competitors, which we'll talk about, and just a lot of young people doing their thing. I love to see it. So, Ricardo, just tell me the story of this company, One On One. You were founded in, or you started operations around 2012. Tell me, how this whole thing came about back then.
Kalilah, my background is in math. I'm a lover of math, and I was studying to become an actuary. I was working at Sagicor at the time doing something called structured finance, kind of what you talk about now. And I remember in 2013, I was awarded the Fulbright scholarship. At the time, I was studying to become an actuary. Used a set of videos to prepare for the exam. The book was too long. It was too big. I got a perfect score on the exam, Kalilah. I started making math videos for students, and the rest is history. At the time, we were also doing face-to-face classes, and we had a very personalized concept of students in a class with 10 or 9 other students with a teacher. And this was very effective as it led to students getting really good grades, especially at the high school level. And so we decided to go fully online. We reached to 1,000 students in no time. We decided to go fully online. We got capital from Sagicor in our early days back in 2015. And we built out a technology as well as the content online. Fast forward to 2022. We are currently serving over 250 learners across the Caribbean. And we've been successful in terms of ensuring that we impact the lives of so many people through technology and content. The journey has been amazing, but our focus is really to connect people to knowledge in a very personalized way by leveraging our technology and content. People look in our name and they see educational services. I can tell you we're changing that because we're more of a technology company that serves the education industry than we are an education company that does the other. So very happy to be here. As I mentioned, we're now probably about, we started, you mentioned 2012, but we actually registered the business in 2013. I was doing personal tutoring before that. And in 2015, we had our massive launch. So we're an online technology company that focuses on the government and the enterprise business. 95% of our revenues is from enterprise, Kalilah. So we're very much an enterprise technology company that focuses on training and education. And now we're looking to grow and go back into the student and teacher business.
Well, we actually have a video here that kind of sums up what you do. So let's run that video now.
Sure.
Imagine a nation where all individuals reach their full potential, where businesses thrive, and government consistently realizes its development goals. A nation where no achievement is impossible. This is our dream. Not just for our island, but for the entire region and beyond. Welcome to One On One. We are the Caribbean's leading e-learning solutions provider, trusted by governments, enterprises, and individuals to educate, upskill, and train through our award-winning learning management system, LMS, and e-course offerings. Whether you need a platform or content for online e-learning, training courses, or access to expert tutors and trainers, we have it all. Our award-winning LMS and e-courses are for everyone, anywhere, anytime. Think of us as a one-stop hub for learning, teaching, and development. Our solutions span the entire educational journey with personalized environment, content, and experience for learners, trainers, businesses, and governments. Accessible learning is our passion, and we're proud to know that over 200,000 plus learners and growing daily throughout the Caribbean and 10 plus countries including Jamaica, Bahamas, St. Kitts, and Haiti use our personalized enterprise and content solutions to learn, train, and grow. E-learning runs on One On One. One On One. Learning made personal.
Learning made personal, your tagline. And let me just say, one of your former students or clients just left a comment. Malik Barnett says, want to big up one-on-one team and teachers who helped me to pass my CAPE exams in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. So here we are with a live testimonial for you, Ricardo.
Yeah, man. Love that, love that, love that. We've had many of that, and that's the reason we do it, Kalilah. That made my night. This is amazing. That's why we do what we do.
Absolutely. So we have a lot to talk about. Education, edutech has been, really facing a boom since the pandemic. So for everyone who might have been, a little bit timid about doing an online course, 2020 really changed things for you, didn't it?
It did, Kalilah. I must tell you, though, that our change began 3 years prior to 2020. As I mentioned at the top of the segment, one-on-one started out as a face-to-face business, and we quickly transitioned into an online business where we leveraged our technology and content to deliver training and learning online. But in 2017, we completely came out of the face-to-face business. We went fully online and fully enterprise, and we turned our first profit in 2018, where we recorded about $12 million in profit. In 2019, we moved towards focusing on our technology and our processes, Kalilah, just to improve the company, to give us a solid foundation that we could scale, because we saw where that enterprise business was a huge opportunity to scale globally. And so when 2020 happened, 6 months into the year, we were a profitable company. And then when the pandemic happened, the governments of the Caribbean, the businesses, they came to us asking us to leverage that technology to keep the kids in school, to keep training happen. And so, yes, it benefited. But I tell you this, had we not been prepared, we would not have had that opportunity to dominate in the way that we did, to help as many persons as we did. In truly, a very sad time in our history in terms of so many persons were affected by COVID and so on. So I'm here to tell you that our transformation started the minute we decided to go fully online. We went fully remote as a company very early before the pandemic. And all of these things have helped us to keep revenue high and keep the cost down.
Yeah, you mentioned the word enterprise a lot. What do you mean? Explain that business model.
So the business model I perhaps should use for your audience, business to business, right? So, one-on-one, we're in the business of, so we've invested in an online learning platform and content, and our business is to license this out to other companies, for example, who uses our platform for whatever training needs that they have. So we get paid an annual licensing fee to lease our platform to them. We don't sell our platform, we simply license it, and we get paid a fee annually based on the amount of employees that you have. For governments, we do the same thing. We license the platform to you. That's what we call our enterprise business, because it usually requires a certain level of technical implementation at this level. But once it's implemented, Kalilah, you stay with us for 5 to 10 years. We have long-term contracts. These governments, once they get on our platform, they don't move. The companies, they don't move. And our business, the name of the game is to get as many companies to sign up, to get them started using the platform. Because once they do, they don't stop and they love it. So that's the enterprise business. It is selling and leasing our platform to other businesses versus what we call our retail business, which is to allow students and teachers to connect in the online environment for a fee. That's the retail business versus the enterprise business.
All right, so that kind of ties into the next question I was going to ask. And one of the questions that's also coming from our viewers, Travis Barkley, who wants to know if EduFocal is competition for you. So how different are you from EduFocal, another education technology company that listed earlier this year?
No, that's a great question, and obviously an obvious one. I can tell you now that we're re-entering the retail space, EduFocal will be a competitor of one-on-one, specifically as it relates to their PEP and so on, because that's exactly one of our growth areas, to go back into that space of providing online tuition to students. I tell you how we're different, however. We're a company that is more of a technology company than we are an education company, as I said at the top, meaning that we lease our technology and our content to other education providers, training providers, and so on. I can tell you now, in Jamaica, we have a number of companies in the education space that they use the one-on-one platform to deliver their services. They use the one-on-one content to deliver their services, some of which we can talk about, some of which we can't. And so we are more of a technology provider, a content provider, and an enterprise company, as I mentioned, than anything else. However, we're going back into the retail space, and so naturally they will, be a competitor in that respect. So of course, they have made moves to go into the business space as well, and that ought to be respected. However, we believe that our focus on the technology. Kalilah, we spend 60 million per year in research and development. That's no joke. We invest heavily in artificial intelligence, in online learning. That's no joke. And so our focus is more on the technology side, and we would love to partner with more education companies to provide them with the technology and the content to run their own business. So we see ourselves as a backbone of e-learning, and that's kind of the market that we want to play in, because it's certainly a huge market globally.
Clearly, because you're doing quite well in the financials, that explosion in revenue and in profits, the business model is serving you well, which brings me to a question that I tell you, my viewers are the best. They're so smart. They ask the questions for me. I don't even have to ask questions anymore. Chantel Clark has this question for you. She says, Mr. Allen, a lot of Jamaicans still don't have internet access and credit card access for online purchases. How will the company reach these potential customers with the Classroom in a Box product?
Boy, your audience, they're amazing. So I wish I had a box with me. I don't have one in my office. Perhaps my wife, who is watching this, may want to bring it up, Carla. But I tell you something. Chantal, we believe that, and we've seen the numbers, 54% of Jamaicans have access to internet. 46% don't. And so we have created a solution. We call it the Classroom in a Box. And, I must tell you why this means so much for me. I'm from a place called Riabo in Trelawney, where, I spent a lot of my time in Jacksontown, Trelawney. And, it's deep rural. We didn't have internet. We didn't have light up to 2004. So we created a solution that not only works without electricity for 8 hours, but it also downloads a segment of the internet on a device. I place it anywhere in the world, and you put it there. People can connect and access online learning. And the power of this device will not only assist Jamaica and Jamaicans, but it will go even beyond that to assist people in developing countries globally. I want you to think about other areas of the Caribbean, Central and South America, and also Africa. So our focus is not only to reach the ones who have access to internet, but the ones who don't, in a way that is easy to use and convenient. In fact, Chantal, we've just secured a 14 million innovation grant from the Development of Bank of Jamaica to expand the use of this box and the commercialization of this box. So you should see that being rolled out in the near future. It's going to have a lot of impact. Think about children's home. Think about the correctional facilities, the prisons. Think about the schools. So many schools don't have access to internet. And you know what I like about the box, Chantel? Even if you have internet in a school, there's usually limited bandwidth. And so one of the innovations that we've added to the box is that it allows you to stream the content from the internet, store a portion of it online, and caches it. That's a technical term. It means it stores it there. And you can access it at lightning speed. It almost as if the internet doesn't exist. And that's the innovation. That's the power of innovation. And that's what we're looking to commercialize.
Wonderful. So, all right. So you own what's the ownership rights to this box?
So we One On One I just got one of the boxes that you can see right here. And, we download the internet on this and we place it. So One On One actually works with a partner overseas that manufactures the boxes. And we work on getting the content on the boxes and the resources on the boxes. So it's kind of a dual role in that, we obtain the hardware, we have it manufactured overseas, and we build the experience on the devices, and we then license it out to our clients. So we own all the content and so on. to the extent that
So the
there's
proprietary part is the content, not the device itself.
not the device kind of thing, right? So the
Okay.
real ingenuity is really in the content and the mechanism in terms of how we download and capture a section of the internet on the device so that persons can access it. It's truly innovative, Kalilah.
All right, let's talk some of your numbers, because we definitely talk numbers on the show, and I want to share screen to show what your revenues have been. So let me share screen in just a minute. I just need to bring it up, and then I'm going to share screen. We're going to talk revenues. We're going to talk profits, because you have had quite the story in terms of your numbers over the past 5 years, and 2020, 2021 in particular. So here we go. Share screen. I'm going to share a tab. And all right, here it is. So what are we looking at here, Ricardo? Walk us through this bar graph.
So as I mentioned at the top, Kalilah, the story of One On One is a story of true entrepreneurship. We launched in 2015. We grew the business. We stayed focused on the agenda of building out our core technology. We could not predict a COVID, but one thing we knew, there would have been a global shift in the demand for online services. We see stats coming out of the US saying that most people are spending time on Netflix, etc. That's where learning is going to be, online. And so 2017, we went fully digital with our online learning platform. We came out of the business of trying to get parents and students to pay us for the platform. And we simply went to other companies or governments to take our platform. That's 2017. We steadily kind of worked on that for the first 3 years. If you notice, we were prepared to take advantage of COVID. It happened there in 2020 to help as many governments and so on. And they came to us, Kalilah, because they knew we had the solution to help them. And then in 2021, on the back of COVID, we saw where we continue to grow. You see, what happened is that just like in 1945, when you had the World War, how unfortunate that was. You found that when the men went out to work, Kalilah, the women would be asked to work. And what happened since then is that we have not turned back. Women are now better positioned in the workforce and so on. And so at the end of a pandemic, it usually leads to behavioral shifts. And what we're seeing now is that a shift in behavior where more people are more accommodative of online learning. And so One On One is there now. The global demand has caused us for our products to be more demanded, and we now are making more revenues as a result of that demand.
Yeah, because I saw some people asking in the comments, and I was thinking the same thing too. Because 2020, you just had this outstanding year, and it would have been an outlier. That particular year, nobody could have predicted the pandemic, and you saw your revenues shoot up. But what's remarkable is that in 2021, those revenues continued in the same direction and even higher. And then your projections for 2022 are more of the same. You're looking to cross the $300 million threshold by the end of this financial year. So how have you been able to sustain that, even though we've gone back face to face?
And that's the thing. We're actually insulated from students staying home versus going to school, because One On One simply stays behind the education system and provides the technology, and we offer long-term contracts. So Kalilah, you see that 2020 revenues that you're seeing, ballooning to 143 million. We kept those contracts because they are long-term contracts, and we added to them for 2021. And so in 2021, you keep those contracts and then you add to them for 2022. What I'm saying is that the power of our business is that when we sign a client, and we earn the revenue and we deliver on that product and we do a very good job. My team does an excellent job of executing. You're seeing me, you're speaking to me, but I can tell you my team, they are the strength of this company. And so what we do is that based on our business model being software as a service, when we sell, we earn annual revenues for long-term contracts. And that's how we've been able to kind of sustain that growth. In addition to that, we continue to sign new clients and take care of them, So you can expect going forward, One On One to continue on that growth trajectory. And the insulation that I mentioned, Kalilah, is important, because whether students are staying home or going to school, the government has a 3-year deal on the platform. So how is it that we're affected? We're not. Now, as we go back into this business of the face the class business in terms of teachers using our platform to meet with their students. Here's the ingenuity of that now. One-on-one is actually not the ones offering the tutoring and so on, you know. All we're doing is providing our platform, because remember, we're a technology and content company. We're providing our platform, Kalilah, to the teacher so that they can create their courses and monetize their knowledge. We're providing the platform to the trainer so they can create their courses and monetize. And all we get is a little commission on that. So that's our business model. We focus on the technology and allow the teachers to do what they do best.
All right, let us bring our representative from Sagicor in, because don't feel like I left you out. I didn't forget you. I just really wanted Ricardo to tell us about his story and about, you know, the company. And I do see a lot of questions coming in for you as well, particularly about, you know, the listing process and so on. Let me see if I can find back the comments that I had tried to highlight earlier. So
that's no problem at all. I mean, there's no one better to tell the one-on-one story but Ricardo. He understands his products and knows everything inside out, every single product.
Perfect. So Theola, tell us about the application process.
Okay,
Sagicor Investments is the broker for this IPO.
Yeah, so we're the lead arranger and broker and the sole broker. So we are taking applications via our e-invest platform, and you don't need to be a client of Sagicor to sign up. Everyone is welcome to sign up, no matter who your investment account is held with. Of course, for those who don't currently have investment accounts or JCSC account numbers, etc., they can also just sign up with any one of our advisors or reps. We have persons checking the system all the time, so we put you onto an advisor. But the platform is pretty intuitive, and you can sign up. Well, you can go through the sign up process, and the monetary transfer is done via RTGS or wire transfer. You can use manager checks, and we can also do point of sale. So you can come into a Sagicor branch. We'll have the list there in the prospect of all of our branches, and you can do a point of sale transaction as well.
Okay, so like you said, you don't need to be a customer of Sagicor. You can just go online and use e-invest, and we do have the link in the description box below for you to be able to do that. But Theola, people are already used to maybe doing business a certain way, doing business through their existing broker. Devon says, majority of the retail market have gotten used to applying for IPO through JMMB, so why only Sagicor?
Well, I mean, Sagicor is the arranger and the broker of the one-on-one transaction. Truth is, we have a long-standing relationship with the company. As Ricardo would have mentioned, he was even working at Sagicor at once, but also, I mean, we saw the business model, we loved it, and since 2015, we were investors, and we were happy to take one-on-one through and be a huge part of this milestone. I mean, as much as you may be used to doing it with JMMB, JMMB's platform, I mean, you can come to Sagicor platform, even if you're a JMMB customer, I mean, or a JMMB client, and sign up just as easily. So like we said before, you don't have to be a current client of Sagicor. Everyone is welcomed. Yeah.
So one of the things I noticed, like right off the bat, looking at the prospectus, is Una. And one of our viewers, Danielle, says, tell us about Una, that brilliant use of technology right there. Before you answer that question, I think we have a video to play. Let's play that, producer. Bringing up Una. All right. While she brings that up, you can tell us a little bit about it, Theola.
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel like I can see Ricardo is excited to take this as well. So I'm going to let Ricardo take Una and tell you about Una. It's amazing technology. AI,
okay, apparently we don't have the video. Sorry about that, guys. We don't have it, but you can tell us about it.
So
Ricardo.
Una, Una is amazing, Kalilah. Started out from students reaching out to our company, trying to help with maths question, and we created using artificial intelligence, really, the brains behind WhatsApp and Telegram, where you can have conversation with our minds. And
Oh, wait. So Una is your innovation, Ricardo? They're at
yeah,
One
we
On One?
built it. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
one on
We're
I
a
one.
thought it was
technology
a part of the broker. I thought Sagicor was behind that.
Well, we're all one, aren't we?
Surgical loves it. We absolutely love it. But yes, it's one-on-one's innovation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
So tell us
And like,
about it,
yeah,
Ricardo.
go on.
so our
Yeah.
head of R&D, Dr. Ricardo Anderson, is an assistant professor at the UWI, and both him and Ashley, who is a student, worked on a conversational artificial intelligence, but where we can teach just about anything, and you can have conversation for it to teach back. And so, One on One, we're on track to be in the 100 listed company. We thought, why not leverage this technology for persons to go through the prospectus a little easier? And so we made it available on WhatsApp, where right now you can add Una and you can begin chatting with Una, and she will tell you everything about the prospectus in a conversation like you're talking to someone. She never goes to sleep. She's always available. And you can access her on Telegram as well. So it's quite nice. It's just another way to experience the prospectus. Of course, we encourage everyone to read the prospectus. But if you don't have time to go through everything, have a chat with Una. And, Kalilah, I tell you, the beauty of this goes towards what we're saying, adaptive learning technology. You would have seen our use of funds speaks to spending this money in building out personalization through what's called adaptive learning. You see, Kalilah, what has made us successful, why that students say that they pass their CAPE exam, is how we do things. We assess your knowledge gaps first, and then we curate courses and content that meets those gaps. That's our mantra. That's our recipe. That's what has made us successful. Una will have the power of assessing students' learning gaps, pushing courses and content to them so that they can actually learn. And that's the power of it. But right now, you can use it to learn about the details of One on One by adding Una to WhatsApp or Telegram. Just go to the prospectus, add the number or scanner, and start having a conversation with her. It's quite amazing.
That really is very cool. Theola, I see a lot of people in the comments saying, asking questions about the process. Some of them saying they're on eInvest right now, trying to do that. And I would like to ask you to reach out to them, or have somebody from your team reach out to them. Just go through the comments, and you can reach out to them tonight, tomorrow, as soon as possible, so that you can rectify some of the issues that they're having there, because there are quite a few of them. And, I don't want us to go through all of them right here on the show. So I have a couple other questions for you as well, Theola. Kimberly wants to know what is meant when it says the conversion price is 80 cents.
Okay. So like I would have just mentioned before, and it even showed in the initial screen, Panjam and Sagicor Investments were early investors. I know the Sagicor Sigma Venture Fund invested in One on One since 2015. And as private equity holders and, offering loans to One on One, it's just that they are now able to take part in this IPO at a slightly discounted price. This is just a discount for, of course, being one of the angel investors in the company. So that's why you see a conversion price. The conversion price is actually from the loan from all the way back in 2015.
The loan is being converted into shares.
Correct.
And so they get it at 80 cents. I have another question. This one comes from Garth, and it is about the application for teachers, because I do see that there is a reserved pool for teachers. Garth Grant wants to know, is it that the reserved shares that are for teachers and trainers will require a pre-application in order to get the allocation? How does that work?
I'm not quite sure what he means by a pre-application, but with regard to the teachers and trainers, what has happened is that we have actually been in contact with the JTA, and they would have sent us a very extensive list of all members that are registered with them. So we are using that list so that when a teacher applies, we'd be able to verify against that list to see whether they're a member of the JTA. So that's how we're doing it right now. but not so much a pre-application. They apply as normal. They select the teachers and trainers pool, and then we would verify against the list that we have that they are in fact a part of that pool.
Okay, so all you have to do is be a member of the JTA, the Jamaica Teachers Association, and you have reserved shares set aside for you. So that's great. I love that you guys have done that, Ricardo. Let me take a couple more questions from the audience, and then we wrap this segment because I know our analysts are standing by. They want to get their hands on, well, they have their hands on your prospectus, and they are eager to tell us their thoughts on it as well. So we take a couple more questions from the audience. Teron says, I found it interesting that the iCreate CEO is a member of the board, iCreate being another education company. He says, I wonder if that means a future possible merger or a partnership. Ricardo?
I can take that one. So myself, I'm actually a member of the iCreate board as well, assisting Tyrone in the direction of that company and kind of leading it to the growth. You have seen that turnaround since the start of the year, and that's just a testament to the board and all the members. Obviously Tyrone has been a supporter of One On One since day one. He was actually on the board of One On One since the first time we started the business, and so he has even supported me as well. So it's really a symbiotic relationship. I can tell you that we have a business relationship ongoing now between iCreate and One On One, and anything can happen in the future. What I can tell you is that we are very focused on building, as I said, the technology that powers online learning, the content that powers online learning, and we continue to do that at a very high intensity, not only in Jamaica and the Caribbean, but anything is possible. I cannot rule out anything, but I can tell you that's not being discussed now. That's not a part of our intention now. It's really two young CEOs supporting each other, helping to grow each other's businesses as we continue to take advantage of the various opportunities in the market.
And you did do an acquisition recently, Total Services. Tell us about that.
So you will hear the word technology coming up much in our presentation. Technology. Total Services is actually a company that owns a core piece of technology that One On One likes and we kind of leverage in many ways. And so we felt that was a very strategic acquisition. Of course, we're looking for a similar acquisition in the space that focuses on core technology that advances our efforts, specifically in the areas of artificial intelligence, machine learning ideas. That's where we're focused on. But Total Services lends itself to that focus of building out a core technology company that is now primed to scale globally. So, that's the flavor of what we're looking for, to create that backbone of the education system, the training backbone, platforms that powers online learning, online training, and content that does it.
And I'm going to take this last question. This one comes from Elaine, who says about 50% of the contracts are set to expire in a couple of months. What is the company doing about that?
Elaine, 50% of the contracts that we've shared, those are the material contracts, some of which, obviously we've shared. Now, as I mentioned, the company One On One, the contracts that we sign are long-term contracts. And, you sign long-term contracts, they have expiry dates and, people renew. I can tell you that we have renewals that are, we had a 5-year contract with Cable and Wireless International that came up for renewal last year. It was renewed. So, the company does a good job of renewing its existing contract, and we don't expect those to be different. So while contracts have expiry dates, we do a very good job of renewing most of our existing contracts into the future. As I mentioned, One On One's business is to secure the deal, keep customers happy, and keep them with us for a very long time. That's the same business model as a Salesforce. They keep their customers for a very long time. So we invest a lot in our customer experience teams and our retention teams. And so that's the expectation. So it's not unusual to see that happening. But our focus is to ensure that people renew. And they have been doing that.
Do you know what? I didn't even ask you about your pass rate and all of that, but you can go and read the prospectus. They've done exceptionally well on 90% and above, in
97%
passes. So,
in math.
Yeah, just go or ask Una. You can ask Una anything you want to know that we didn't get to cover in this program. But thank you so much for joining us, Ricardo. Thank you, Theola.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Kalilah, and thanks to your audience.
Okay.
All right. So, guys, what do you think based on what you've heard so far? And have you read the prospectus? I hope you have. And if you haven't read it, just ask Una anything that you want to know. What do you think? Take our poll on Twitter and here on YouTube as well. Are you going to be investing in this IPO, in One On One's IPO? Let us know in the comments and let us know in the poll. Are you going to be investing in this particular IPO? Yes, no, maybe so. What you gonna do? Man, so many things we didn't get to, like dividends and all of that. But like I said, go ask Una. Will you be investing in One On One's IPO? Yes, sounds good. No, I already have EduFocal. I can't bother with these small offers or other. Leave a comment, and that poll is available on YouTube and on Twitter. Up next, we've got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
This segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy. Time now for your market recap. The Jamaica Stock Exchange declined last week with the combined index losing 1,000 points or less than 0.5%. 120 stocks traded across both the main and the junior markets of the JSE for the week ending Friday, July 29, 2022. 44 advanced, 65 declined, and 11 stayed the same. 115 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, totaling $826 million. Wigton Wind Farm was the week's most traded stock, taking up almost 14% of market volume. The stock's price remained unchanged at 51 cents. Fosrich traded the second highest volume, with people buying almost 16 million shares in the company. The stock's price lost 33 cents to open the new week at $3.38. The company's board recently approved a 10-to-1 stock split and gave the all clear for rights issues or APO. And Dolla rounded out the most traded, taking up almost 7% of market volume. The stock lost 12 cents to open this week at $3.01. Now let's see who had the biggest gains for the week. Margaritaville Turks USD was last week's biggest gainer. The stock price jumped nearly 50% to close the week at 15 cents US. 138 Student Living Variable Preference was the week's second biggest gainer. The stock price rose 41% to close at $41.61. The stock was also July's biggest gainer, up 114%. And rounding out last week's biggest gains, PBS Cumulative Redeemable was almost up 31%. The stock gained $24.70 to open the week at $104.74. On the losing side now, General Accident Insurance was last week's biggest loser, down 15% to close last week at $5.07. Cygnus Real Estate Financial fell 14% to open this week at $11.14. And rounding off the week's biggest losers, the Lab lost 10% to close at $2.82. Now here's a look at some of the highlights for the month of July. The main index declined by 2%. The junior market declined by 3%. The financial index declined by almost 2%, and the manufacturing and distribution index also declined by 2%. Stationery and office supplies was the month's second biggest gainer behind 138 Student Living. The stock opened the new month at $17 after gaining almost 39%. Margaritaville Turks rounded out the biggest gains, up 27%. The stock closed the month at $21. On the losing side, AMG Packaging and Paper was July's biggest loser. The stock dropped 20% to end the month at $3.75. Mailpack also fell 20% to close July at $2.33. And MPC Clean Energy fell nearly 20% to open August at $85. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index advanced last week, gaining 3 points. First Caribbean was the most traded stock. It opened this week at $5.05 TT. The stock was also the week's biggest loser, down almost 8%. Angostura Holdings was the market's biggest gainer, up nearly 7% to open this week at $26.99 TT. Over in the US, the Dow Jones ended last week up almost 3%, while the S&P 500 rose 4% and the Nasdaq climbed almost 5%. There was a slight dip in prices at the pumps last week, with gas and diesel prices falling by 25 cents. In foreign exchange, it took an average $153.64 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. And on the crypto markets, Bitcoin rose less than 0.5% in the past 5 days, trading at $23,049 on Monday. While Ethereum rose 0.5% in the past 5 days, trading at $1,645 on Monday. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Jamaica National Group. We'll help you.
All right. Yes, this segment is brought to you by Jamaica National Group. We'll help you find a way. And we have been talking about the One On One IPO, which opens next week, August 12th. Is that next week? Today is the 2nd. What day of the week is the 12th? It is, yes, next week, Friday, actually, is the date that IPO opens. And I see some people saying that they're having some issues using eInvest. So Garth actually said that he's on eInvest and it crashed. And then Lucasade said it worked well for me over the weekend and today about 5 minutes ago as I helped some relatives apply. What's happening now? What's happening now is that we're talking about it on Taking Stock. And all of you who are watching the show are on eInvest at the same time, trying to do the very same thing. So Taking Stock crashed the site. Yes, that is the type of impact that we have over here. So it's time now for the analyst, and I'm joined by research manager at JN Fund Managers, Dania Palmer, and business writer at the Jamaica Observer, David Rose. Welcome, Dania. Welcome, David.
Good night, Kalilah.
Good night, Kalilah. Thank you for having me. Good night, David.
All right. So, Dania, I know that you have been diving into the prospectus for One On One, and you just heard the interview from Ricardo as well as Kalilah from Sagicor. What are your thoughts on this IPO?
Kalilah, if I can be, I mean, as an analyst, I always try not to be too excited. But I must tell you, I'm excited for this young company. And, you know, right where you started, I'm excited for, young entrepreneurs. Over the last 2 to 3 years, we would have seen a few non-traditional companies, seeking to raise capital on the junior market, in particular. So it augurs well for entrepreneurship in Jamaica. I think this will encourage, more and more young people to invest in themselves, invest in their business, and I'm pleased to say that this company, One On One, is seeking to solve a real problem, and I think, that that strategy is very good for the future of the business, because by solving a real problem, it ensures that it's a good recipe for success, basically.
Okay, and what do you think of their financials? Because we spoke about that just now, that they have this, you've seen this rapid rise between 2019 to 2020, and then 2020 to 2021, and then again 21 to 22.
Sure. I think their numbers are very good. If I can share my screen.
Sure.
Let me see how that's done now.
So just click the share box right at the bottom of the screen.
Yes. Try and stream one.
And in the meantime, while you're doing that, let me take a few other comments. All right, good. You got it?
Yes. Are you seeing my screen now?
It's coming up in just a few, I think. Producer, we have the screen coming up. I'm not seeing it. Yes, it's coming up now. All right, good. There we go. You're going to have to zoom in on that, Dania.
All right, great.
As much as possible, because we can't really make out the numbers there.
Yes. All right, great. So, yourself, along with the CEO, would have touched on the fact that in 2017, the company made a pivot.
Zoom in some more. We can't really make out these numbers.
Are you seeing any better now?
More.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, now I'm making it out.
Okay, great. So yourself, along with the CEO, would have mentioned that in 2017, the company made a pivot from delivering content, one-on-one content, to a more online business model. And what we saw is that in 2017, prior to that, their gross margin was around about 50%, but that pivot resulted in an expansion of its gross margin. Started in 2018, and in 2021, which is the last fully completed financial year, its gross margin was at 87%, 84%. If we move further to the 9 months 2022, that ended recently, we see where their gross margin has seen a further expansion, and over that period is at 94%.
All right, before you go any further, explain what the gross margin is.
Well, the gross margin is really the after the company generates its revenue and subtracts the direct cost associated with generating its revenue. The difference is really the gross profit, and the gross profit is the ratio between the gross profit and the revenues, basically.
Okay, so go ahead.
Sure. So I was then gonna go down to its efficiency ratio, which we have seen improving over the same period. It was 106% in 2017, and as of 2021, it had declined to 54%. We also see an improvement when we compare the 9 months figures to the previous year's 9 month figures. It's now at 68%. When we move further down to the net profit, the bottom line, we also see significant improvement. Where in 2017 it was at a negative position, and in the full year 2021, the company's net profit is at 24%. For the 9 month period recently completed, the net profit is slightly down on the net profit margin generated in 2021. It's at 21%, but significantly above what was generated in the 9 months in the previous year. Now, if I should go down to the balance sheet, we have seen significant improvements in its asset base that has been fueled by an injection of equity capital in 2019, as well as debt capital, which the CEO spoke about in 2021. The company got a loan from Sagicor as well as Panjam that has really fueled the growth in its assets over the period. So all in all, we are seeing a growing company, profitable company, and it really augurs well for the future of this company.
Okay, David, what are your thoughts on one based on what you've seen so far?
It's a good look, Ricardo mentioned, where they did the pivot in 2017. So, switch from the classroom model more so towards being the platform and provider of the technology that can be used to, grow the space. So, for example, they mentioned, back in 2020, where, the Bahamas, felt that effect of COVID. And as a result, they, worked with the Bahamian government, and it's still ongoing, where they're actually digitalizing the education system. So, they have the learning management system platform. They also, are providing the platforms for, teachers, trainers, other persons, to carry out lessons on the platform, and, they collect a part of the income on that. And, they're basically using advanced technology to really drive home, the reality of growing without additional costs. So Dania mentioned, you know, a while ago their gross margins, but when you go to the company's net profit margins right now, it's 30% and up. So that means basically, every dollar they generate, they keep 30 cents of that left over after paying taxes, expenses, and so forth. And you know, the company has said, you know, they spend about $6 million each year in R&D, which is critical for a company of their nature. So right now, you know, the company is basically looking to raise $258 million, but in essence, you know, it's kind of really like $260 million in new capital. And you know, we're seeing where they'll left it open till next week Friday to let teachers the chance to actually open brokerage accounts, which I commend Ricardo and the team for, because I believe that we should encourage, you know, our civil servants, other persons to build wealth. Because, you know, Ricardo mentioned, you know, persons who stuck with him in the early days and create content, they become millionaires or will become millionaires when the company actually lists. So looking forward to next week Friday to see if it just opens and closes on the first day or in a minute. But I'm really proud to see what we're going to One On One. You know, I was actually part of the last class, physical class One On One back in April 2016. You know, we helped with the KEEP exams. So I'm looking forward to what goes on, but it's a good look.
All right. Dania, anything that stood out to you as a potential concern?
There was one thing that I was a little bit concerned about, and that was the ballooning of its receivables. I think in are you still seeing my screen? In 2021, that jumped to 114 million from 8 million in the previous year. But as I, you know, dove into the prospectus, I saw where they have highlighted that that is really as a result of, you know, them serving the governments of the various governments across the region.
Yeah,
And
we know how governments stay with payments, right?
yes, and but at the same
Their
time,
own time to pay you.
yes, but at the same time, I mean, the governments are usually the best credit around. And then when I looked at the cash flows, I noticed that like over the last 3 years and even in over the 9 month period, their operating cash flows are positive. So I mean, I was a little bit concerned, but that basically allayed the fears.
What about Ricardo being so pivotal to the company? I noticed that they have Keyman Insurance on Ricardo.
Yes.
Any thoughts about that?
I mean, such is the nature of a business like this. I mean, I saw that as well, but then there's Keyman Insurance there. I'm not too sure if there's any escaping of that. So it is what it is, basically.
Mm. David, any last thoughts on One before we move on to our next topic for this evening?
So, although you mentioned, you know, Keyman Insurance, you know, it's a good thing in a sense because it would give the company cushion in case anything does happen. And for the context of receivables, that's actually a good thing in the context that when you actually check out their audited financials, they don't have much expected credit loss provisions on those actual receivables. So because like you really have government clients in essence, they don't really have to be quote unquote recognizing, you know, higher provisions on that receivable balance. And the reality is the company has recurring revenue from its other contracted clients. And, you know, 70% of the revenue is outside of Jamaica. You know, most of it is B2B. And, you know, they're looking to really expand pretty heavily and fast within the next 2 to 3 years. And we're talking about a company that's going to actually have less payments, you know, with the conversion of the Sagicor and Life of Jamaica loan, Sagicor and Panjam loan. Talk about a company that's actually going to be, you know, having a much more smaller debt balance in a sense. So capital structure is freed up. And the reality is they have so much more room to go because, as Ricardo pointed out, they are a fully remote team. So they're no longer necessarily restricted on the access to capital. So, you know, you mentioned Panama as a potential location for growth and, you know, the rest of Latin America as well. So the platform for One On One is pretty immense. And I'm looking forward to what goes on because one of the some of the issues that we face in the Latin American, the Caribbean, and African regions for education and access to knowledge, One On One will be definitely a company that I want to be looking at going forward for the next 20 years plus.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's look at another company that is run by a young CEO, a brand new listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. That is Dolla Financial Services. And they are going to be raising new capital in the form of a bond to meet the rising demand for its loan product. So what's going on with Dolla? Because they just raised a whole heap of money by listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And here they are with a bond on the bond market.
So here's a joke. Remember, of that $500 million offer, only $250 million was actually attributable to Dolla. After they took out the expenses, they were left with about like $224 million in actual net proceeds. And Kadeen pointed out, all what they actually raised during that period was loaned out. So imagine listed on June 15 and June 30 was the end of the quarter, and they loaned all of that money out. So based on the growth potential that the company has, and the fact that they have liabilities which are going to become due the next year. In this case, the Derriman loan, the First Rock loan, and even the GK bond. This new bond that they're going to raise, for one, will give them the firepower to expand their operations in Guyana, but the potential to actually expand their operations in other parts of the Caribbean region. They mentioned Bahamas, Dollar Belize, Dollar Panama page on Instagram, and it would give them the ability to actually potentially pursue acquisitions. So we saw where today on the JSE, where Access Financial, which is a competitor, one of the older firms and the biggest firm by loan size in the microcredit space, said they were approved by the Bank of Jamaica and got the microcredit license. Dolla applied from January earlier this year. Kadeen mentioned, that they're actually they were basically well advanced. They sent the BOJ to respond and in the green light, and you're going to see a consolidation in the space. And if Dolla's able to actually purchase some of those loans at some sweet discounts, it's going to be good for them. New customer base, you have cash flow that you bought at discount, and they just open another branch in Portmore today. So I'm looking forward to see how that bond goes.
So how much is the bond?
$1 billion. What would that be? 1 billion.
Jamaican, well, obviously.
Yeah, Jamaican dollars. But here's the thing about the Kalilah. Dolla's balance sheet is $1.1 billion. So they're effectively going to be doubling their balance sheet through this one debt offering.
And for people who may be interested in the bond market, what's that process like? And let me throw that one to Dania, because you manage different types of investments there at JN Fund Managers. How do people invest in a bond?
So first of all, this issue that Dolla has is likely to be a private placement. So the first thing is that they will have to talk to their broker and ensure that they are an accredited investor. And their broker will guide them through the process, basically. So it's not as simple as an IPO where members of the public can invest. You have to be an accredited investor to invest. So the best route would be to talk to your broker, and of course, we would encourage you to talk to your broker at JN Fund Managers.
How do you become an accredited investor?
You would have to have a certain amount of net worth, put it that way.
All right. David, did they say the coupon rate?
No. So I was mentioning that they engaged VM Wealth Management, who was their lead broker for the IPO, as their financial advisor for the offer. So they got approval about 2 or 3 weeks ago from their board to actually do the offer. So now VM is actually arranging the whole offer and everything. We saw where they're committed to Access Financial Services was refinancing a bond recently, but 11%. They're refinancing $2 billion through Proven Wealth, which they're arranging for that offer at 11% interest rate. So we probably might hear the coupon rate shortly, but for some context, not all bonds per se are for accredited investors. So if you look at mainly the US dollar ones, they might be restricted to only accredited investors, and it's not necessarily about having a net worth to be an accredited investor, because the FSC guidelines actually say if you earn $10 million in income over 2 years, you can actually consider an accredited investor. versus having a net worth of $50 million. So I remember, for example, when NCB Financial Group was refinancing their bond last year, I think it was at $100,000 or $200,000 was the minimum to actually apply for the bond. Now, the $1 million or 10,000 US dollars, minimum you usually hear from advisors, it was $100,000 or $200,000, and I think it was like 6.5% at the time. So that's just one route you can consider, where there are actual Jamaican issuances that might be in the space where you can get through that way, or you can be an approved investor. I'm not so off with that process, but it's basically where the FSC, green light says, say, hey, you don't meet that credit investor standpoint, you can be considered approved, take a certain instruments. So you can actually buy into a bond in that case. So I also have unit trust options as well. So there isn't a restriction per se like that. And Kadeen did mention, that he really wants to involve his retail base because they got $4.76 billion between pension funds, retail investors, institutional investors. So, they could just do something similar to NCB, as I mentioned, or, they could do something like similar to ISP Finance, where back in 2016 they had a bond where the minimum subscription was $20,000. So this is all to show you that the quote-unquote higher quality bonds might be restricted, to accredited investors, but at the same time, you have issuances out here that, might not fall under that restriction as, you typically see other bonds.
All right. Thanks, David. Before we go, I never did ask you. I should have asked you earlier, Dania. So, and before I ask you as well, let me issue the standard disclaimer. The information presented in this show is for educational and information purposes only. This is not intended as investment advice, even though our analyst panel are qualified. They are not your investment advisors. So you need to consult your licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions. So Dania, what is the position of, or do you have a position there from JN Fund Managers on the one-on-one IPO?
Yeah, sure. So far, I mean, all in all, I feel very positive about this IPO. When I look at the price that it's coming out at, it's right in that sweet spot that the market usually loves, and that's priced at $1. And in terms of the valuation, I think it's being offered at a fair valuation at about between 18 and 20 times PE, depending on how you do your calculation. So, like I said, all in all, I'm very positive about the IPO, and I would encourage you to look out for our complete analysis that will come out at the end of this week.
And how can people get that?
We have a mailing list, but maybe you're not on that. It will be publicized on our website.
So, all right. So it will be on the website, and then if you're on the mailing list, how do you get on the mailing list?
You can email us. For example, you can email me at dpalmer@jnfundmanagers at JN Group, and I'll add you to the mailing list.
All right. So I'm putting it in the comments right now. dpalmer@jngroup.com. All right. And then you can get on the mailing list and you can get their opinion coming out later this week on the one-on-one IPO. Thank you so much, Dania. Thank you, David.
Always glad to be here, Kalilah.
Great having you on.
Thank you,
and
Kalilah.
welcome again. Welcome. It was your first time. You did great, Dania. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
I will take a quick break. We'll come back with final comments.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, was brought to you by Jamaica National Group. We'll help you find a way.
Hey, money makers, you're not an official part of the family until you have your merch. Visit KalilahReynolds.com/store to order your t-shirt and your mask today. Let's get this money. All right, so just to let you know as well, Dania's email address is in the description box, so you can email him and he'll add you to JN's mailing list. That way you can get their opinion and their analysis, their full analysis of the one-on-one IPO that will be coming out later this week. So let me take some of your final comments here. I saw a lot of comments. Thank you so much for your participation this evening. I'm gonna crash the people on site. People website. Chantel says Mr. Allen, as a young man. Okay, this was a question for him, so that opportunity is gone because he's gone now. Siobhan was saying, Mr. Allen was my mentor at Jamaica College in 2015-16. He provided us with past papers and assisted us with studies. I'll definitely invest in his company. And then we have Leanne, who said, I'm particularly spiked about the classroom in a box. It's innovative and shows the potential for new and improved products that solve problems. So yes, a lot of people excited. And then Elaine saying, we will be lucky if we get 2.5% of what we want. And we've seen this with other IPOs recently, especially junior market listings, where you have this high demand and limited supply. And so you don't get a whole lot of the allocation. You don't get everything that you applied for. This one is only for 358 million Jamaican dollars, and not all of that is available to the public as well. So depending on the demand, how much you guys want it, you might not be getting everything that you applied for. So I want to say thank you for joining me once again. I really, really appreciate your presence. We love having you on here this week. I'm going to be doing probably a short review about, when I say short, like very short, but like TikTok short about this. But you guys know more or less, you learned a lot from this show. I'm sure you did. So anything that you didn't find out from the program, ask Una. And the barcode is in the prospectus. The link to the prospectus is also in the description box. If you open there's a QR code on it, and you can just ask Una any question that you need to know about this particular IPO. We also expect that Sagicor will be reaching out to the people in the comments who've been having some issues. All right. So make sure that you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and you share this with a friend. Also subscribe to our newsletter at KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter. If you are brand new to investing, you are tuning into this show for the very first time, and you're kind of curious about what's going on here, how to get started, and you're kind of not quite sure, then I do have my Investing for Beginners Masterclass that you can take at KalilahReynolds.com/masterclass. And as part of that class, you do get a copy of my free broker guide. It also comes when you subscribe to the newsletter. Turn on those post notifications so that you can be the first to see everything across all platforms when it drops. You want to help people learn more about money so we can all get this money together. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Kalilah Ray, and follow at KRM_business news on Instagram as well. And remember, these are my only official pages. I have no backup pages, no weird spelling. If you see something there with my picture, just verify that it's me. I do not ask for investments from you. I am not a broker. I do not facilitate investments on behalf of people, whether it's stocks, whether it's crypto. I'm not going to slide in your DMs asking you for money for anything. There are a bunch of fake pages out there. If you come across one, please report it. Now, if you want to connect with the analysts this week, check the description box below for their contact information. Damia's email address is right there, and you can email him and ask him to add you to the JN Fund Managers mailing list. Also visit my website, KalilahReynolds.com, for financial information you can use however you like it. Watch, listen, or read. Now, tell a friend about taking stock, because investing is the new sexy. So let's make it cool to talk about money. I'm Kalilah Reynolds. See you next time.
Let's get this money.